This week, up for review, we did two movies, as we always do. We did Kindergarten Cop 2, 20 years later, and we did a movie called Icetastrophe, a Siffy original. All right? Now, Mike, we're going to do those in that order, Kindergarten Cop 2, and then we'll do Icetastrophe.
Okay.
Would you start us off with Kindergarten Cop 2?
Okay, let me start by saying I had very low expectations for this movie, considering that the two stars of the movie are Dolph Lundgren, who is obviously taking over the Schwarzenegger role, and Bill Bellamy, who most of the people who are watching us on YouNow probably have to Google him to find out who he is. Dolph Lundgren at least has been in other stuff recently, such as The Expendables, you know, that retro classic. Or maybe you saw him during the Rocky Marathon. He was, I must break you. Now, this is related to the original Kindergarten Cop in name only. It is very similar to how they did the Butterfly Effect 2 and used the same premise with just different people. However, this was a direct-to-DVD release and hence has shown up on Netflix. And I have to say, I was quite pleasantly surprised with the movie. I enjoyed the movie. They didn't play on the original too much. You know, I've seen sequels like this where they have made too many references to the previous or the first movie. And this actually could stand on its own. If they had changed the title, people would have been like, oh, this was like a sequel to Kindergarten Cop. So they figured, you know what? We're just going to call it Kindergarten Cop 2. That's it. Did it have its stupid moments? Yes. But if you're looking for 90 minutes to kill and feel nostalgic and want to see what Dolph Lundgren is up to these days, there you go. What did you think of it, Shaq?
Did we decide you were going last?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so here's my write-up. I did it, print it out, so that I wouldn't miss anything. Kindergarten Cop 2. Hollywood is at it again with another remake of a classic. This time, they took their aim at the 1990 Arnold Schwarzenegger film, Kindergarten Cop. I'll be honest and say I wasn't expecting anything but disappointment from the start. I mean, who could forget their catalog of disgrace? Black Karate Kid, Russell Brand playing Arthur, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and finally the worst of them all, the A-Team. Unlike previous attempts, however, I'm happy to report that this rehash has some surprisingly good qualities for those that are tired of their beloved childhood memories being stomped on the ground like so much popcorn in the theater. Although from the title you would think this is a sequel or continuation of the film, this is in fact a new storyline and has fresh characters. But for those who remember the film, many things will be familiar. In this 2016 version, the scene has changed and we now see an FBI agent going undercover in a prestigious grade school as a kindergarten teacher to recover evidence to ensure the safety of people in the witness relocation program. Dolph Lundgren plays the role previously held by the Governator with partner/comedic relief Agent Sanders, played by Bill Bellamy. For those of you unfamiliar with these actors, Dolph Lundgren will be forever known as the evil Russian guy who fought Rocky, and Bill Bellamy is best remembered as the lead in How to Be a Player. Alongside this beefcake and his quirky sidekick is another kindergarten teacher, Olivia, played by Darla Taylor. Now, you may not know who she is, but do yourself a favor and just Google a few pictures of her. You'll be glad you did. Honestly, this is what the last version of this movie was missing, a steaming hot sex pot of a teacher. There's no 90s shoulder pads or gigantic sweaters in this version, and this woman knows how to show school teacher sultry. Other familiar actors round out this cast, most of which you'll know by sight but not by name, a few of which even have recurring roles on Hallmark or Lifetime movies. Lundgren and Taylor, however, steal the show. Even having what appears to be a 20-year age difference, the love connection on screen appears genuine. And while moments in the story harken back to the original, aspects of the trouble with today's school brings new laughter to this revamp. During the movie, Lundgren must not only accomplish his goal, but must navigate through today's modern school complete with flowery language, smart alecky kids, and political correctness so bad that it would make you puke. All the while, with typical romantic relationships evolving, and we are given some insights into the dangers involved with trying to keep eyes on the Albanian mafia. Now, with all this high praise, don't think this movie doesn't have its faults. There are a couple of cast members who either were intentionally trying to act poorly or simply need to retake Acting 101. The FBI captain's over-the-top abusive behavior is beyond cliche, and the casting for the geeky tech teacher makes all nerds seem like overweight geeks who live in their mother's basement. Luckily, these scenes are few and far between. Unfortunately, however, they are just enough to remind you why this movie was direct to DVD. Kindergarten Cop 2 is available on Netflix, or if you feel like purchasing it, I was actually able to find both it and the original as a 2-pack DVD set on Amazon for $14. For those without Netflix, you can also rent it from Amazon for $4.95. Overall, I approach this movie with the history of Hollywood's disastrous remakes in mind, and I'm glad to see that for all the turds they turn out, occasionally a remake can capture the spirit of the original, but still maintain its own identity. If you have kids or are a kid at heart, I highly recommend this movie. With sex appeal, jokes, and fresh relevancy today, they've done what I didn't think was possible. They made a good movie. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Colin, you're up. Tell us your take on Kindergarten Cop 2.
Yes. Kindergarten Cop 2 is the 2016 spinoff of Arnold Schwarzenegger's 1993 action-adventure comedy, Last Action Hero. With this film, director Don Michael Paul and writer David H. Steinberg have attempted to demonstrate what one of Schwarzenegger's other films would have been like in the alternate world of Last Action Hero. In this case, they have decided on using Schwarzenegger's 1990 film, Kindergarten Cop. As seen in Last Action Hero, most of Schwarzenegger's movies starred Sylvester Stallone. However, Stallone was busy making Rocky V at the time of Kindergarten Cop, so he had to decline starring in the movie. But he did suggest that his friend Dolph Lungren was available, and that is how Dolph ended up starring in Last Action Hero's Kindergarten Cop. Now, Kindergarten Cop 2 is not a straight scene-by-scene reshot of the original Kindergarten Cop. This would be correct since the original director of Kindergarten Cop was Ivan Reitman, and he was only brought in because Schwarzenegger himself insisted on it. Some additional changes were also made to the movie to make sure that the audience understood that Kindergarten Cop 2 was really part of Last Action Hero, and not just a sequel to Kindergarten Cop. For example, the filmmakers included the stereotypical shouty African-American police chief with the heart of gold from Last Action Hero as Dolph Lundgren's boss in Kindergarten Cop 2.
Go ahead, keep going.
Now, is Kindergarten Cop 2 a successful movie? In a word, no. Unfortunately, the actors, writers, and director were all under the impression that they were shooting footage that would be cut down into a funny short that would be used for the Academy Awards or Mad TV, which is being brought back, or Saturday Night Live. I noticed that the actors came on screen and they hit their funny lines really hard, and then they just kind of seemed to lose interest in, obviously they're thinking about what they were going to get from craft services and not the rest of the scene. The only thing I could figure out is that the producers failed to find anyone to sell the short to, and instead they took the entire thing and just edited it together as a movie and released it all as a big thing.
That's your review?
That's my review.
So I take it you didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No,
So, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down from me.
All right, Shaq.
I liked it. The wife and I actually watched this one together because I told her I was going to watch it for the show, and she's like, "Is it a sequel?" And I'm like, "Well, it says 2, but I'm not sure." So we both watched it, and she stayed awake for the whole movie. So that's pretty good.
All right.
How about you, Mike?
I'm giving it a thumb. Only because I already pay for Netflix, and I didn't have to pay extra to watch this movie. If it involved any kind of monetary loss on my part, I probably would have given it a thumbs down. And this would be one of those movies that I'd be ashamed to say I owned.
So you wouldn't take me up and buy the 2-pack?
See, that's a tough sell. If it was like $14 for Kindergarten Cop, and we're going to throw in the bonus featurette of Kindergarten Cop 2, then maybe.
I mean,
That's how you justify it.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's
if it's
pretty much what it is.
but if it's just Kindergarten Cop 2 on DVD, no. Let's just stop right there.
No,
Okay,
here's what I
let's
thought
take
was
grounded
dumb
in
is
reality.
I found Kindergarten Cop 2 on DVD for $13, or I found the 2-pack for $14. So wait, hold on. For $1 more, I can get a movie with a bigger. And what's crazy is Kindergarten Cop, the original, they spent $20 million to make the movie. $200 million was their gross on that. Huge return on investment. So I can understand why they made the sequel. They had tons of money to do it. And it's 20 years later. So if you have children, or if you never saw a Kindergarten Cop, and I mean, Mike, I think we both can agree to this, you would enjoy this movie because you wouldn't be comparing it to anything.
True.
You know, so if you're under 25, maybe even 30, you've never seen the original.
In which case, go watch the original.
But I don't think the original would stand the test of time. I don't think it would hold someone's attention today the way that the way that Cop 2 did. I don't know. That's for you to decide. You go out, you watch the movie, you let us know what you thought, whether our reviews were right, wrong, or indifferent. We want to hear from you. By the way, we are going to be taking this part of the show, clipping it out separate, and putting it as a separate playlist on our YouTube feed. Next up for us to look at was Icetastrophe, a sci-fi movie from 2014. Mike, you want to go first again, or you want me to go?
Oh, no, you please go first, because I'm going to have an aneurysm on this one.
All right. Icetastrophe. A meteorite brings ice and freezing temperatures, which threatens to harm the residents of a small town at Christmas. So who's there to save the day, you ask? The cast of Continuum and Stargate Universe, of course. No, this isn't some crossover episode. It's a 2014 movie called Icetastrophe. Director Jonathan Winfrey must have been a fan of TV sci-fi because every major cast member in this movie has their roots in either Continuum or Stargate Universe, some members coming from both. Charlie Ratchet, played by Victor Webster, he was Carlos, plays the local town and resort handyman. Quickly in the movie, it's established that he has no love for the big city land developer, Ben Kruge, played by Mike Dupeau. He was Jaworski in Continuum and Varro on SGU. They have a quick falling out when it's discovered that Charlie's son and Ben's daughter are sneaking off together. Same old story of poor boy, rich girl attraction. All that drama gets placed on hold, however, when a mysterious meteorite crashes into the middle of town and ice is upon them. While chasing down a way to stop the spread of the cold stuff, the two rivals are forced to work together for survival, along with scientist Alex Novak. I forgot to start bringing up pictures. Not that there are that many pictures. Played by Jennifer Spence. She was Betty on Continuum and Lisa Park on SGU. With nice subplots within the movie facilitated by the main protagonist, the ice, one feels like maybe they could have reduced the plots a little and focused a touch more on the primary story arc. In general, though, the story does continue to move on through the fantasy of the science that is portrayed. If you're not someone who can suspend belief in the loose meaning of science and science fiction, then this movie isn't for you. At some points during the movie, you do see hints of the day after tomorrow, but the original story takes your attention away from those in a pleasant way. It's nice to see a familiar plot with a new twist. Many viewers reported that the acting was lacking, but I only saw this from the peripheral characters. The main characters seem to have a chemistry between them, probably from their years together in Continuum. I will come out and admit that all the reviews I read did comment about the bad special effects. In this case, I think special is stretching it a bit much. Honestly, Sharknado had a bigger budget for CGI than this movie. However, if you are a fan of the Librarian movies, then like those, you'll appreciate that they skimped on computer graphics and realism in those areas to focus on character development and actors who have real talent. In summary, the CGI is bad, the science is horrible, but the story and the characters make you want to keep watching. I recommend this movie, but I wouldn't pay for it. Netflix, you've got this to add me to my watch list, but I won't cry when you remove it. Icetastrophe can be found on Netflix or rented on Amazon Video for $3.99. Technically, you could buy it for $13.99, but I wouldn't. That's what I think. Mike, How's your opinion of it?
You pretty much took the words right out of my mouth, and I just about lost it when you pointed out that, yes, I felt like I was watching a reboot or a prequel of Continuum, which was one of my favorite shows ever. And I was desperately waiting for Kira to come in and save the day. And I'd also like to add that some of these people also show up in the 100. So I was waiting for some of them to. It seems like any big show that is filmed in Canada by Sci-Fi or an affiliate of Sci-Fi, these are like the go-to actors and actresses. Now, unlike what was it? Earth 10.0 earthquake, was that the one last week?
10.0 earthquake, yes, was last week.
Okay, unlike that one, which I found, the storyline to be mildly entertaining and somewhat plausible, this one, using the MacGuffin of the meteor and basically turning the meteor into red matter, broken in half, and we have to reunite them to balance everything out, and then suddenly everything is thawed. Spoiler alert, sorry. This one bothered me. This movie really bothered me. The acting, I agree with you that the main characters their acting was pretty good. But this one, it's very rare for me to give a movie less than 3 stars on Netflix. Very rare. The majority of the movies I watch on Netflix are 3 stars. Icetastrophe got 2. And that's primarily because and it had to be at Christmas. Had to be at Christmas. Let's just throw that cliche Hallmark moment in there. You don't want to ruin Christmas with the meteorite. Well, Sci-Fi did. Colin,
Okay.
I'm desperate to hear your review.
No, me too.
Okay. 2014's Christmas Icetastrophe was supposed to be the newest entry in the V franchise, which started in 1983. For those not familiar with V, it's about a reptilian race of aliens known as visitors, which have invaded the Earth by disguising themselves as human using fake skins. In the original plot, some of Earth's magical beings, elves and stuff, discovered a Canadian town had been fully infiltrated by the visitors. Using Jack Frost's staff, an elf and a werewolf worked together to freeze out the cold-blooded visitors. Unfortunately, after much of the filming had already been completed, the producers lost the rights to use the V intellectual property, resulting in a last-minute rewrite. Since they didn't have much time, they decided to combine what they already shot with Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, resulting in something that they hoped would be watchable. In the process, the magical creature storyline was jettisoned, but since the scenes with the werewolf had already been shot, the character retained some of the appearance of the werewolf in its makeup. In the resulting film, Ben Scrooge, the barely disguised Ebenezer Scrooge, is an embittered miser who's destroying property in town to make a shopping mall, destroying people's livelihood. He used to be a happy man before he fathered a son when he was 16 years old with his then 13-year-old girlfriend. Only his family's money saved him from years in prison, and the experience left him hated by most of the community. At the time of this movie, he and his now wife also have a daughter who was born 10 years after her werewolf brother, Scott. Now, there is tension between the two siblings as the 19-year-old and her 23-year-old boyfriend reminds Scott of his own birth and upbringing and how much, that hurt him as he was growing up. It results in a lot of tension there. Now, this framing story was then used to surround the original footage of the visitors being killed by the Icetastrophe, which is now referred to as a meteor or meteoroid. The original elf character is turned into a 36-year-old grad student who is either the worst grad student in history or she's trying to replace Noah Wiley as the next librarian. This character then tries to spackle the pieces of footage together by explaining that some open fire prevent people from being killed by the meteoroid. Originally, the human characters were not killed by the staff since they're warm-blooded. Only the cold-blooded visitors were being destroyed by the staff, and they were chasing the human characters who didn't understand what was going on. It doesn't really work because the science just barely gets explained, and I noticed some of the best acting in the movie were by characters who were immediately killed, and some of the other acting was pretty good, but on the whole, I think the whole thing just kind of fell apart.
So thumbs down for you.
Yeah, but not as much as it was for Kindergarten Cop.
Okay. So Mike, you're not a fan.
No, I really wasn't a fan.
Yeah, and I'm so far in the, like I said, I added it to the list, but when they take it away, I'm not going to cry. This is so, it's right there in the meh category for me. I'm not going to probably watch it again unless I get sick. So 2 bads and a meh. So that's what you get for a rating on this one. Now,
Yeah.
Colin and I were discussing before the show how difficult it actually was to research Icetastrophe.
Yes, because it really was titled Christmas Icetastrophe.
Yeah, but then they stripped all that away from a lot of the cover art and listings and some of the other stuff. So, depending upon where you look, you have to look for different things. Mike, did you have that problem? Because I found 6 screenshots and that's it.
Well, see, I didn't even try to find screenshots because I'm not going to try and mess with it and put up the graphics. That's your thing. But I like looking up the characters. You find these actors from their main roles, which was, like you said, Stargate or Continuum.
Yeah.
There's Icetastrophe. Forget it. You're I think you got them all.
I mean, the 2 that I really liked were Victor Webster.
Yeah, I thought he was very good.
And Mike DePoe. I don't know how you say his name, but but I know Mike DePoe from SGU exclusively. And Victor Webster is just one of those guys that you see in a lot of different roles, because I didn't watch Continuum, but I've seen him in a lot of other things, just as little bit parts and stuff like that. I think he was even in a couple of Hallmark movies, maybe, because he just has that Hallmark face, I guess.
Oh, that guy was supposed to be the mayor. I thought the guy who was going around with the Ebenezer Scrooge character was the sheriff or something. I see now he was actually the mayor. By the way, some of mine was a reach, but if you do look at the character list, Victor Webster is playing Charlie Ratchet.
Yeah.
Cratchit.
Mm-hmm.
His son is Tim. Not so tiny.
Not so tiny. Yeah. So, so that's what we think about this week's movie.